Yo, what's up guys? New video, another Giants Keep Hard video, and I want to mention a few things. Well, first of all, I've seen videos of other people saying like, okay, this is impossible or blah blah, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying they're necessarily wrong, but I'm also for that reason going to look within this video for the absolute minimum requirements for, in this case, Giants to make things work on a free-to-play team. Of course, what you're looking at right now is on a free-to-play team, but kind of explaining what we're looking at and what we're aiming for. I've seen Sean's Beast video and he mentioned on my Dragons team with the twins, like this is impossible. He says it's tier 2 runes, but I still cannot even get close. I think people are overvaluing runes and undervaluing artifacts. The main thing which makes it very much on improving any damage anywhere kind of is these artifacts. And these artifacts are just very important. Wait, where's my Dova at? Deva, anything. Sabrina, also fine. Let's look at Sabrina. Sabrina, okay, sure, for stats. This is not that crazy, I would say, but okay. But these things of 16 on fire and the co-op of 16 just adds in a insane amount of damage. And that is something you have to keep in mind. It's not just runes and then like a base stat artifact. You need to have artifacts. You don't even need crazy artifacts. You need artifacts that make sense. So keep that in mind for any dungeon team, your PC team, your Giants team, your SF team. Well, SF not really because shitty dungeon once again. But artifacts are very important. So definitely do farm your artifacts if you haven't yet, because now it's just so much more chill to farm artifacts. But that is kind of sidetracking on the idea of this video, but just something to very much keep in mind if you say like, oh, I cannot make these requirements for runes. Artifacts are very important. So what am I going to do for this video? Well, as you probably have noticed, this is my tier 2 of Rage set. Well, pretty much the whole set of those were tier 2s. If we go to, for example, my Lin has tier 1 of Rage runes together with Akamamir. And then also the Vermos, if I'm not mistaken. So those guys have the tier 1 of Rage runes. We're not going to use tier 1 Rage runes on this. We're not going to use tier 2 Rage runes on this. We're going to use tier 3 Rage runes on this to make this team work with the exact minimum speed requirements, because there's a few things to this dungeon which make it that you might say like, oh, I keep dying to, I just get armor broken and then right after the armor break the counter happens. Well, then you can fix that with speed tuning. So those things we're going to address right now. I'm going to look at things like a Delsim. I've seen it on some other people's. So speed tuning is very important. Artifacts is decently important. I'm not going to use my best artifacts. I'm actually going to tune down artifacts to like a more minimum kind of way. I am going to exclude all of the runes that I just showed. I'm going to exclude all of the runes that are on my Dragons team. I'm going to use straight up tier 3 Rage runes for me, or tier 3 runes throughout. I'm not going to use any fights runes, so I'm also excluding that factor. Probably tier 2 or tier 3 on whatever I have for artifacts as well, really to get that minimum requirement, but still beating the thing with a decent consistent rate and everything like that. So first things first, speed tuning. See a whole bunch of stuff over here, but the main thing what we're looking at right now, you can also, like, if you're not interested in the speed tuning and just want to hear the exact numbers and not exactly how it works and that kind of jazz, just use the timestamps in the video down below, because I'll probably just put them there, or I forget them and then you just skip a little bit more. But speed tuning. So we have the speed ticks. Probably have a different video about explaining speed ticks, but the first thing we want is we want a Galleon on a 5 tick. Galleon on a 5 tick is plus 136 speed, while having speed lead and the tower, but they're the other way around. Doesn't really matter. So that is the important part. The second important part is Akamamir. Your Akamamir, as I've shown in my video, was around like 66 speed or something along the lines of that. That works because I had a Leia moving in front of it. But if I don't, you can see that my Akamamir is not taking a hit or not taking anything on the 6 tick, because my Leia was doing that at something like 150 speed or so. Kind of lapping in this case. But what we do need in this case, if I'm not mistaken, we need it around 100 speeds. Is it 100? It's a little bit less than 100. Oh wait, this is still on the 24. I used that before for a Dragon's team. So I think I thought it was 103 or 102. Okay, we can even go for 100. 100, do we have less than 100? Nope, we need a plus 100 speed minimum. So that is something that we definitely have to aim for. Galleon has to be plus 136. Akamamir has to be plus 100. We also do know the speeds of the bosses. We can actually check those. So if we go over here, we go to the Kairos dungeon, B12, so we can see all of the speeds of everything. Minimum thing that we have to outspeed with everyone is the 169, but that is a 169 combat speed. So that is a 169 where there's 0 speed towers and 0 speed lead. So that's just a straight up 169, which means if we go for a Lin is 102 if I'm not mistaken by heart. I'm not even 100% sure. But if we just add like a 30, we're already good to go. Wait, we can even add a 28, we're already good to go. So that's the minimum speed that we have to work with. However, I do want to keep everything in tuning, that everything moves on the next stick. So these, of course, like I'm going to use a Delseam. I actually do not know what the Delseam speed is, but I'm going to find that out here. Poison Master, Piston Master, Piston Master, water. Let's go for this one. What's your base speed, honey? Your base speed is just 100. Okay, Delseam is 100, Pharaoh is 100, and just for double checking, I think Lin is 102. But for the idea of it, Lin is 102 on Awakening. Let's actually see if the Delseam doesn't change on Awakening 2. Piston Master, back at it again. Mr. Kyle, what do you say, Mr. Kyle? Mr. Kyle actually becomes a 101. We nearly missed on that. We have a 101. We have Varamos, that's 100. Oh, wait, the 101 goes over here, yes. Okay, so then we need the speed tuning for the Delseam moving in this stick, so he needs to be 100 at this, which is probably like 63-ish or something, 60, even less, 59, can we get a 58, 58, can we get a 57, yes sir, 56, probably not, 56 still, okay. So we need 157 on that so far, and then this actually just needs to go anything above the speed tuning. Now actually needs to be slightly faster than that, 33 minimum, and then Lin can be 28 minimum. So these are the exact speeds that are the minimum for all of the 5 units. Would you place anything else in here, like a Jilton, like a Helia, like whatever you want to use as a backup armor breaker? You can place that in here with pretty much the same speed idea. If it's like 100 base, then you probably have to put it to like 75. So it's pretty much like 175 in total before towers and all of that kind of good stuff. So that is something we keep in mind. We will base all of the units based off of these requirements. So we don't need to make Lin any much faster. We don't need to make Varamos any much faster. And Delseam water. That's the... I didn't mention that, but Delseam we will go for water. That's just something I've seen at like other videos and seems to be decent. So yeah, we're going to go for that. We're going to optimize all of that, and we're going to exclude all of the runes from tier 1, tier 2, and see how we get from there. Okay, so I just skip through when everything is actually runed, but just for the sake of it, that's showing you guys, I'm not going to use the Kamamir runes. I'm not going to use Lin runes. I'm not going to use current Varamos runes, not even those. I'm not going to use Sabrina runes. I'm not going to use those Lucian runes. I'm not going to use Talia runes. I'm not going to use Deva runes. And for the sake of it, I'm not even going to use Balier, Bajal, Banana runes. And I'm not going to use Verdihill runes. If you're still saying right now that you cannot have these runes, you start freaking farming, lazy ass. If I exclude all of these runes and you still cannot make it, you better start farming. Okay, time to optimize. Okay, so I didn't exclude Galleon runes. Galleon is going to be via shield, but for Galleon I'm just gonna say I can only use runes that are inventory and not his right now. Because otherwise with Via runes I'm still gonna get so freaking many bolts. And we're actually going to make it optimized for just this dungeon right now, which is a 35 accuracy. Okay, so current sets are the 282. This thing on like the super fast with a fight. This thing on a 250. And this thing on like close to 280. And this thing of course is not. This is what happens after reruning. Afterwards, we have quite a bunch less attack, quite a bunch less crit damage. We are at the 100 speed right now. Well, 200 speed. This thing became a shielder plus a Vio, but 35 accuracy. You don't need more than that. This thing became double shield with a focus rune. It just happened to be that for getting the 35 accuracy as well. This thing is now Rage, which kind of similar looking set as what it was. Didn't really upgrade or anything like that. And then we have this thing, which is 250 right now instead of like close to 280. So that is about that. I kept in mind that I still wanted to have everything around like 62, 65 K of HP efficient, but we do have a bunch of shield sets in there as well. We have 0 fight sets in this case, and let's see how that runs. And for this, I can actually remove those bars while running it. So let's see how this runs. So right away, we see a bunch of bad AI things, which is totally fine. But I would say I still have the good artifacts that I have on all of this stuff. So it might be slightly worse for that. I also do know that the Dhalsim skin is faster than the skin on Kaio itself. So that part kind of slows it down as well. We also have like the worst terrible AI, what we can see right now at this moment. So doesn't really help out too much. But as you can see, Kaio's actually not bad. He does pretty decent damage to those waves. And yeah, he just does decent. But yeah, as you can see, still easy clears. Boss is often the part where it gets more difficult, but let's see if we can clear that. Still relatively easy. So this guy is the backup armor breaker rather than anything. We still have a pretty terrible AI run throughout, as far as it seems. So let's see how that runs right now. We also see that the AI tuning with the pheromones was good right now, because we did more than 6 hits, or we actually got the counter on our ass before that he did a armor break on the right tower, which is very important. And then afterwards, we do get some damage, but the next counter doesn't happen unless, well, you could have it that Galleon procs a lot, and therefore you could say Galleon might be better off on shield sets, so you don't get that proc a lot, and therefore you get counters at a way where your pheromones didn't move yet. That could be an option. But as you guys can see over here right now, that this team is... Thank you, Galleon. Galleon is showcasing the best of the best AIs right now. Like, that's one. Motherfucker, I'm a pistol whip this motherfucker. Well, okay. We're still seeing that we can do pretty nice on this. And as you can see, like, this rune requirement that I used here is a lot lower. The shield sets do help a lot. So even... I could arguably say that I don't even need this much. Okay, so in this case, it would be pretty close if Galleon went for one more hit. I would have get countered, but I kind of still like the Galleon on the Violent. It does kind of slow down your fastest potential run, but it makes things a lot safer. Sure, you have the Kaio as the backup armor breaker right now. You could say if you have a Jolton backup armor breaker, which might be safer than like all of these, then you could say, okay, I even lower the rune requirement even more, and I put Galleon towards like either the more shield sets or anything like that. But yeah, I would say this team is pretty safe. I do really like that backup armor break. We're lapping everything on we're lapping everything on the tick rate that it's supposed to be. We're not doing a crazy amount of damage. We're actually lacking the runes that I showcased before. So this is, once again, this is like my tier. Well, this is pretty much, I got 250 rage, like 250 crit damage rage sets after making like 8 other rage sets, 250 plus. And the thing is, it's not necessarily just the rage sets. I think a lot of people might be that you're over focusing of like, oh, I need the rage blade to make this work. Now, actually, I highly recommend use the optimizer and just let the optimizer tell you what your highest crit damage set is. Because all of these crit damage sets here are... Excuse me, free-to-play rage is 280 crit damage. How the hell do you get free-to-play rage 280 crit damage? Sean B, start farming. I'm telling you, start freaking farming. Because all of these runes are pretty much broken sets. That's the main thing. We have a whole bunch of broken sets rather than anything. So let's have this thing run one more time and then look at the runes individually. And then we're actually going to downgrade artifacts as well. Because once again, as I mentioned before, I think for a lot of people, the issue is not necessarily rune sets, it is artifacts. But to be honest, if people are saying 180, you already have 50 base. You have 40 from the thing itself. You have another 80 from the crit damage slot 4. You're already looking at 170 crit damage when you add 0 crit damage in your runes. It shouldn't be that hard. Like, to be honest, if you have just a bunch of blue runes, you already get there. And you only need crit damage. The only reason that you guys might not have crit damage runes is because you sold everything because it doesn't have speed on it. That could pretty much be the only reason that you don't have crit damage runes. You just sold them. Because they didn't have speed. No, Sean B said it was 180 on free to play. Hell no. Hell no. So, okay, we got, like, sure, it's not super fast, but it's still pretty easy to do that. I never farm Necro. Me neither. I never farm Necro. But then again, let's look at these runes individually. So this is a good rune, but this is something else. This is a good rune, but this is something else. If you farm everything else but Necro, you probably get some of these kind of runes at some point. This is pretty much a blue rune. Yeah, it's a little bit more than blue rune and some grinds on it. This is pretty much, okay, it's a hero-ish rune, but not that high rolled. What do we have over here? We have a pretty much hero rune. This one is decent. I would say this one is pretty decent. This one is, once again, pretty much close to a blue rune, but high rolled. So these are the kind of runes that I'm working with. These are not like crazy runes or anything. Like, let's look at the Lin. Lin has the 100 crit rate. So let's look over here. This is a good rune. Why? But yeah, it's one of the broken runes. So you have to look out for those broken runes that actually give you the good stats. But let's look over here. Is this one pretty solid? This one is arguably pretty decent. This is, well, it's a legendary, but it rolled like a decent high hero, I would say. This one is a blue rune. Yeah, this is, well, okay, you could say how it has more HP, but technically this is a blue rune for those stats. This is actually a good rune. This is legit a good hero rune. And this over here, look at this. Like, if people say they cannot farm these kind of runes, 250 crit damage is not a free to play. These runes are worth nothing, man. If you don't have these kind of runes, you gotta start farming, man. These runes are like, all of them that I'm showing, you can keep blue runes and you have this kind of set. And you're all saying like, oh, I'm farming all week, but I cannot get any upgrades. What the fuck are you selling, man? You're selling blue runes that you could use for that. You farm 8 hours a day. You're selling too much. That's I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, man. Let's look at these runes over here. This one arguably good, but one of the broken sets. So this one pretty good, but one of the broken sets. Those should be easier for people to get. Looking at this one is pretty legit. This one is actually good. This is pretty much a little bit above. Well, technically you only care about these and these stats, so technically it's blue as fuck. This one is good. This one is good, so high heroes. And this one is pretty much blue as well. So to be honest, just start focusing on like use the optimize, because you can see broken set. Well, here I needed completed sets. What happened to have like these focus runes in there, but broken set over here, broken set over there, broken set over there. So that's the thing. New challenge. Make this full team everything full broken. I could do that. I'm pretty sure I could do that. But then the next step is artifacts. So I do have my good artifacts on this with damage on water. You do want to have those damage on water. This is just an insane damage increase. And to be honest, this is blue as well. Like it rolled triple, but it rolled like it's one above blue. And these as well, like get those artifacts in. Those artifacts are way more important. Let's actually do a test. So I had like 50 seconds runs. Let's go for like completely trash artifacts and let's see how much that decreases the run. So let's say we want a damage on water, but we really do not. Okay, let me actually save all of this so I don't have to reset that. Okay, we're going for my lowest of the lowest on everything. So these are your guys' artifacts, okay? These are the artifacts for the guy. So in this case, I want the crit damage skill 2. So we're going for crit damage skill 2. That's crit damage skill 1. Yep, absolutely terrible of an artifact. We go for this one. We have, of course, damage on fire still in there. That makes a lot of sense because I still use it on the wrong thing, even though it still works. So, okay, we're going more damage on water. We use the absolute worst one we have. This one, it's a crit damage skill 3 is what we want, skill 3. Absolute worst one we have. Let's go. Absolutely what we need. These are your kind of level of artifacts exactly. So then we go for this one. We have more damage on water. Damage on water, worst damage on water we have. Yep, those are the kind of artifacts that people can get, I guess. We have a crit damage skill 2. We don't even want attack on it actually. So what's the worst crit damage skill 2? Accuracy skill 3. Absolutely what we need. Okay, we have a whole bunch of shit artifacts. Just to show that this is the point where you actually get the big improvement, these artifacts. You just need better artifacts, boys. You just need way better artifacts. Yeet. Okay, Dalsim also doesn't want armor break. See it? How much less damage I do throughout? Is the Kalamir scaled up? Yes, it is. But can you see how much less damage I do because of missing those artifacts damage on water? It's insane, right? Those are the artifacts you need. That is what making your or your runs fast. Instead of just like, I want speed runes. I'm just farming speed runes all day, and then I sell everything that isn't speed, and now I need rage runes, but I'm selling them. Galleon's still derping. Well, Galleon also derped on the previous one, so that's kind of accurate for what makes sense on this whole thing as well. So yeah, it still works, but now we're looking at 1 minute something. Like I could run this 3 more times, but 1 minute right away. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Farm SF, man. SF, it's a shitty dungeon. You don't like to farm it, but SF, like if you want to improve any dungeon team, SF is probably the best thing you can farm. That's all there is to it. So yeah, and the thing is, even with all of that being wrong, and all of that like on super dank runes and that kind of stuff, like I have a team that is working on blue runes. Okay, they're perfect fit blue runes, let's call them that way. Perfect fit blue runes. With artifacts that are non-existing, more or less. But just because of that perfect tuning, it still works. So that is the main thing I want to give with this video. You do want to have that perfect tuning in there because it still works. And even then, if you get some perfect AI going on, you still have some pretty fast runs in that sense. I'm going to do a slight extra part. I'm just going to test like a few more replacements for Kyle. Because Kyle, in a sense, Kyle is nice. But people are mentioning Barque, Galleon, but then Wind. That one. So probably have to build that one because I don't have that one. That one. Yeah, the Kyle damage is actually not bad. Like, he does a decent amount of damage, I would say. He still has good artifacts, by the way. But we're gonna test that one, and, well, you can also use Jolton. Jolton is also an option. Jolton is a lot less damage, but he has the good... well, he always armor breaks, that's the main thing. Have you tried Prom? I've heard about people trying Prom, but Prom has pretty bad AI and pretty long cooldown on his skill. So that's the issue with Prom. Okay, so the run was actually about 5 to 10 seconds slower because of shitty artifacts, but it still works. So we're still going to keep the shitty artifacts in here. And we're actually going to run this. Let's give him decent artifacts just to compare the damage compared to Kyle. So, wait, not Wind. We do damage on water, of course. Let's not give the highest. So let's just give this thing. And then we have some single target crit damage or some stuff. Okay, let's see how much damage you do. It's also very nice if you actually make it where your Akamamir can one-shot the wave on an S3, but for that reason you need a decent amount of damage on your Akamamir. Getting those runes, that's somewhat hard. I think it does about similar to same as... Well, actually the damage seems a little bit less than Kyle. Yeah, damage seems less than Kyle. Do you think people don't farm enough artifacts in general, just casual play in general? I even like pretty much any account that's, or like any player that asks me what to farm more, I could just say like straight up artifacts, and 9 out of 10 I would be right. Like without even looking at the account. People farm way too little artifacts in general. Okay, let's see. Are we good for backup armor breaks? Not really. Well, he does have a decent amount of pushback, so the mid-boss doesn't really take that much turns as well, which kind of helps, but... Dalsim in the end does have a 2-turn death break, so I think I would like a Dalsim over this unit. He does a decent amount of damage, though. Well, this one is technically easier to build because you need less crit rate on him. So currently I'm overstacking on crit rate, which could add like a little bit extra damage, but... Yeah, I would say if you don't have any of the two built, I would probably go for a Delsim. Delsim seems a lot nicer than this. And if you don't have any of those two built and you don't want to build anything, then Jilton might be your best option, best shot at it. But yeah, that's pretty much what it is to it. And pretty much the speed tuning is just what made this a lot safer, even though it's a fast run. And sure, you could have issues where Galleon just never lands anything. That could be a thing, but it is pretty unlikely. And yeah, I don't know. Barque can't really derp. Well, he can use S2. His S2 just is a derp, technically. But his S3 is an S1 as well. So there's more odds for him to land armor breaks, definitely. So yeah, he's definitely not bad, but it kind of depends what you want to build, I guess. Because Dalsim kind of does this similar to same thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Showcase that you don't need crazy runes to get 250 crit damage. You just need the right speed tuning. So even if you lower the crit damage by a lot, you're still probably fine as long as the speed tuning is right. And that is pretty much just about it.